Hello, hello, welcome. Today we are going to be going over how to offer a meditation event. So whether you're looking for a guided meditation, a body scan, something clever, or a sound bath with crystal bowls, hopefully this will inspire you to put the nuts and bolts together that you need so that it's a nice, succinct event that can be properly and accurately promoted beforehand. So I have this fancy resource here on the chakras, laminated, super amazing. I'll drop the link somewhere and you can find that at edgeyogaschool.com. Come see, probably on the blog. And I'm going just to use it to keep myself on track so that as I move through this workshop worksheet that I have the information. I'm not like running out to Google looking for the information. I have it right here in front of me. The other thing I could do, and I oftentimes do, is craft this on my MacBook and I type it so that way I can just copy and paste that information over and share that with my social channels or on my Eventbrite or on my website or in my up and coming book that I swear that one day I'll write. Who knows, maybe today's the day that we begin doing that. Yes, that's what I think. Okay, so the first thing, go ahead and get your pens and papers out. If you need to pause this, go ahead. The first thing that we'll do is name our workshop. Now, I recommend naming the workshop in pencil because we really want to go back and see what it is we created, and at the end of that, decide whether or not our name is still on point or if we might want to adjust it. But we do want kind of a North Star in some way to keep us on track a little bit. So in this case, our workshop's going to be guided meditation, with crystal bowls at the brewery. Now, there's some really great non-alcohol breweries such as Go Brewery in Naperville, gobrewery.com. Check them out if you're trying to move into a dry space. That's great. I love that. But still, a lot of people are really looking for some mindfulness in environments that they're already comfortable in. So if you can look at this particular workshop as not so much as we're adding beer to yoga, but rather that we're adding mindfulness and maybe even introducing yoga or meditation to these venues that already exist and already have their following and their regulars that come to. So the idea behind this is making this workshop name as specific as possible to target a venue that you might want to offer the thing at, assuming that you want to offer the thing at beyond a traditional studio. So with that being said, we'll kick back a little bit later to fill out which of the syllabus section and the Yoga Alliance categories these are based on what we come up with. But essentially what we want to be able to do is create workshops that people that are looking for continuing education can go to yogaalliance.org, can see your offerings, sign up, come, share your thing, keep their credentials current that we all work so incredibly very hard for, hopefully, right? And learn a few things along the way. But again, I usually do that after, once I see what it is that I've created. This is my way of letting go of the reins a little bit and allowing time and air and space around the creative process, which I'm creative, so this is the way I roll. If this is not your way, just flip the order into an order that works for you, and that's completely fine. So the purpose of the workshop, as I mentioned when I was just casually talking, is to introduce meditation to an existing or new audience. So I'm just going to write that down. So because of this, even though I have my handy chakras, laminated, double side, all of the things that are energetic in nature, I'm probably not going in the thick of it in this workshop because I know that my audience is at the brewery and maybe they've had experiences with chakras or guided meditation or sound bowls before, and maybe not. So Given that, we're going to go ahead and play it safe and keep it with broad strokes ideas, which I personally really enjoy. And then at the end of any offering that I might do, a workshop I might do, I usually say, hey, if you're really into this, if you want to chew on this some more, head on over to my website. It's the bottom of a handout that I gave you, because of course you would have given them a handout with your website or in a QR code linking to the blog post that tells more, and maybe sign up for future events, follow you on social. In my case, sign up for yoga teacher training or whatever it is you're trying to do. Okay, so workshop theme. In this case, our theme is chakras. So, chakras. If I can teach you anything, let it be. Just call it. It's as good as the next thing. Like, don't overthink it. Right? If you are inspired by another theme later, create another workshop and use this as a template for it so you don't have to reinvent the wheel every time. This can be really time consuming if you're always looking for perfection. Okay, workshop date. Now, generally speaking, I recommend workshops are marketed 6 to 8 weeks out to really capture the people that are looking ahead, their planners in ahead, and right up to the last minute folks, which is, we'll talk about that a little bit more. So at the time of this recording, it's spring. So I'm just going to write summer in the year. So that's not a bad way to do it so that your stuff remains evergreen, especially what you publish. So if I put summer in the year that it is at the time of this recording, this is just as good this year, next year, the year after that. The information's somewhat timeless, which in itself is a nice reason to organize your workshops so you can refine and represent them later. Okay, so venue details. Location, we've decided it's at a brewery. And the next question is, what do you need provided? Meaning, what do you need the venue to provide for you? So if this is a really, really large venue, you might need a simple lav mic, or you might need a quiet space. If you're not bringing your own yoga mats, which I would recommend that you do have some spares, that you ask them for that. I would say probably a speaker system or access to music. So I'm just going to write access to music. And leave it at that. I will hit them up for samples. So generally speaking, early on in the negotiations, whenever I reach out to a venue, it sounds like this. I go in, I patron them. So before I try and sell them on my offerings, I usually patron them. I might go with a friend or something and get a beer in this case, and chit chat and kind of take the temperature of what the social environment seems to be. If it's more formal in nature, then my presentation needs to be more formal in nature. If it's more relaxed, you know, and the bartender says, hey, just go on over there. He's sitting right there, or she's sitting in the corner, talk to them there, they're available, it's fine, they don't mind, then yeah, I actually will go do that right then and there. And even if nothing else, then to hand a business card or postcard with a QR code with a video of a similar offering that I've done elsewhere, complete with an agenda, FAQs, a photo shoot, price point, so that if they do take that step to glance at your stuff, which is a huge ask for a small business owner, I can tell you that they're going to see, wow, this person is really organized. I probably don't have to do very much. Their social media is really on point. There's nothing that, you know, they might be worrisome about bringing in and impacting their brand. So probably no politics on your social. If this is your gig, maybe a different page for that. If that's where your heart is on sharing, great. For social media, though, really be mindful about what you post. If you're feeling emotional, log off. That's my best tip for you. I literally just log off, and then I'll come back on when I feel a little bit more social media PC. How's that? Okay, I hate that I have to add that to this workshop, but these are the times that we live in, so we'll work with what we've got. Okay, then the next one is, what do you need to bring? So we kind of answered that when we thought about what are they going to offer. We don't want them to have to do anything. We want them to invite us back regularly. So we're going to bring some mats. We're going to bring some sort of handouts. We're going to bring business cards. We're going to bring music and backup music. So even if they said, oh no, we have the greatest stereo system ever, I want you to bring a portable speaker everywhere you go. You can get one of those little ones that clip. I have one that clips. It's on my bag. It's in my vehicle at all times. It's always charged. It's always on the ready. Under $100 can go a long way so that you're not surprised in the wrong venue. Particularly if you're doing something like Rock Your Asana, where we need rock music to fulfill the promise of the class that we're offering. So if you haven't offered that, it's great for noisier venues. Okay, so we talked about mats, handouts, business cards, music, backup, right? And I want you to show up with your A game, meaning be early, walk in with a good attitude. Your energy absolutely follows you. Wear something that's appropriate and fitting for the venue that you're at. And this isn't only one way. This doesn't mean you have to hit up Lululemon and buy all their stuff. Trust me, I've done it. It doesn't make a difference. Like, I want you to look like you, but also fit in the venue that you're at. So consider that. If you're offering chair yoga at a country club, which for a time I did do, obviously I would kind of step up my game and maybe leave my tie-dye torn tank at home that day. And that's just respecting the venue that's inviting me into their space and their brand, and that's necessary from my point of view. Okay, tuition. So depending on who you're going to be teaching and how big or how large the venue might be, I recommend tuition be no less than $20. My average workshop tuition is $40. Even though I know that it could be more than that, there's a price point where people really kind of think about it a little more at $50. And I picked up a good tip for financing. For finances, if you are thinking about purchasing something that's over $100, wait a week and you might then see that you feel more confident in your purchases. So with that being said, $40 is a nice number. It also means that I'm willing to show up, set up, and do all my things, for a smaller minimum number of people. So the next question is class minimum and class maximum. So in this case, most times I'll just run my workshops because students of Ed Yoga School earn hours in these workshops, and I do like a one-on-one. I just enjoy a small, intimate environment in that way. But for something like this, I would probably say 4 is a minimum, and a maximum. Breweries tend to be larger. We're going to assume this one might be, and we'll put it at 30. So the sweet spot, if you were to put it in parentheses, is somewhere between 20 and 30. In reality, it usually lands at around 10. So based on, I think, if you've already developed a following, based on your social media, lack of, or existing, makes all the difference in the world. Workshop description. Okay, we will guide students. Through meditation, body scan, naming the chakras along the way while playing the crystal bowls. Nature sounds will play in the background. Let's talk about what that is and what that means. So if you just get a simple like sound machine, it has an ocean stream or raindrops or something like that. I feel that this is beneficial for a sound bath because sometimes the crystal bowls can be a little intense, especially for somebody who's never been to a crystal bowl. It brings folks to a frequency, which is actually of benefit. We'll talk about that in a whole nother lesson. But for some folks, it can actually agitate them some. So I recommend that we add things like soft sounds, chimes, background music, nature machines, things that allow you to break from playing the bowls. So if you're playing the bowls for an hour, I would recommend, or if your workshop's an hour, I would recommend the amount of time you're actually playing the bowls spanned over, or maybe a quarter of that, so maybe 25 minutes where we're actually spinning the bowls or tapping the bowls. And if you want to learn how to do that, well, you can do that through edgeyogaschool.com. We have a course on that. So moving on. Hopefully you're taking copious notes or getting the general idea. I'll take either. All right, inspiration. Put a big star next to it. Is this a lecture, a practice, or both? So in this way, we're inviting people to a brewery. Now, if we're doing a 2-hour event, maybe we have an hour or 50 minutes or 55 minutes of this guided meditation and then a 5 or 10 minute break. I like 10. Maybe at this point, we can refill our brews or something like that. With any good fortune, you lobbied for that when you were marketing, right? And you got that included when they agreed to have you come, right? It'll include a drink for everybody. That'll help you. And then at that point, if you did want to pass out flyers and get into the thick of chakras, you could do that. But I would absolutely make that a separate thing that people have an option if they want to stay or if they don't want to stay. So in that way, for the purpose of this, we're going to have this, is this a lecture, a practice, or both? We're going to call this a practice. So the lecture would have been that second part if they stuck around and we talked about the chakras and whatever that is. Book clubs operate on this well very, very nicely. So you'll see some book clubs that we offer, and this is effectively what we're doing. So if you want to see that in real time action, that's how you go about doing that. Okay, who is your audience? At this point, patrons of the brewery. So you really want to keep this in mind when we decide, do we or don't we want to include Sanskrit and chanting? I would probably say no. But there's no right or wrong in this thing, and you can do whatever it is you want. It's your workshop. That's the beauty of it. Just respect your venue. Okay. What are you passionate about sharing? So I'll tell you about my passion. What I want to do is share yoga with as many humans as possible. That is not the same as sharing refined information and detailed, granular learning points that someone can get on a nifty flyer or laminated handout that can be ordered. If I had my glasses on, I would tell you the website that you can order this at, but I promise I'll post it. Follow me for more. Anyway, I'm passionate about sharing it with a lot of people, like just introducing yoga to people, encouraging people that, hey, you can share yoga. You do not have to do a headstand ever to be a yoga teacher. You can, but that doesn't make you any more or less than somebody who does or doesn't do those things. So you find what you love about yoga and you share that. In this case, we're talking about the limb that is yoga, that is meditation. More specifically, limb 6, which is dharana. Because it's a guided meditation, it's really a concentration. So we're teaching folks how to concentrate on an idea that's in their mind and maybe tame the monkeys of the mind that can oftentimes be all around. So that's what I'm going to write down. You write down whatever you think you're sharing about, passionate about sharing. If you don't know, come back to it later, maybe journal on it, that sort of thing. But do put pen to paper and ask yourself, what am I trying to do? So share yoga with as many peeps as possible. This is my dharma, and I've been at it for nearly 20 years. It's because my North Star and helps me decide what I want to include in my workshop, and if I even want to do a workshop on said topic, or maybe another instead. So, okay, what learning objectives do you want the students to leave the workshop with? So I think I just said that in my spiel a moment ago, taming the monkeys of the mind through a guided meditation. So I'll write that. You can write whatever you want. Okay, so far we've filled out page 1 and 2, and this is actually from our 300-hour yoga teacher training manual, because this is all it is, just repeats of Lax workshops. But long story short, I have all of all of the information I'm going to need for my marketing. So I can type this once and I can copy and paste it in my social, in my Eventbrite, on my blog, on my website. You know, if you're having things printed, when you've already run through the spelling and the typos on Grammarly.com, which is actually on this checklist, Grammarly.com, check that early, and then share it everywhere, and then forget about it, which is nice. Okay, make sure that you do have some way for students to sign up in advance. I mean, you can allow walk-ins if you want, but I don't do that. So, okay, the next one is schedule. It's the schedule. So, 1, welcoming. Take a little time, casual, welcoming, introductions. Keep it short. 2, centering breath. 3, set an intention. 4, guided meditation to sound bowls. 5, seated movements. 6, closing circle. And I know some people get a little intimidated about the closing circle, and it's just that. It's just taking a moment for people to breathe, kind of wake up any that may have fallen asleep and snored. That's a compliment to you. Good job on that. Never feel bad about that. And just give any tips like, hey, this is what we do every Thursday at 6. Come see me next week, next month, whatever it is. I do recommend regularly though. So we offer said thing weekly or monthly or yearly, whatever it is. Then you can also repurpose your marketing that you worked so very hard on and not have to recreate everything each time, which I can promise you is a big reason why people don't offer as much as they could on knowledge that they absolutely have, that I've seen many, many, many years along the way. So here's our checklist that we have. We've run it through Grammarly.com to make sure we don't have any typos. Check it twice. Then promote it on social media, copy and paste it over. Then you want to schedule it with the venue. So right now we have it for summertime. You want to nail down day, date, time, and maybe not choose a time when they're the busiest, but also not a time when they absolutely never have anyone. So maybe if you could find out from the venue, when are you about 30, 40% at capacity? You know, that's a nice add-on with an existing base of people that might come. It doesn't have to be that way, but in my experience, when a business owner says, well, why don't we do it on this day? Because no one ever comes to anything on this day. I'm like, well, what? I want to set myself up for success and I want to be invited back. So take a pass on that one. I don't know. You could try. So then follow up with the venue 1 day before and 1 week before. And this is in case there's a new manager and the new manager doesn't know anything about your gig. So you just want to make sure, remind them. I can tell you this, the times I have failed to do this are often times that I have regretted failing to do this. So don't let that catch you off guard. Okay, then the next thing you're going to need to do is prepare your materials. There, I like to keep it very simple. If I'm offering a day retreat, like recently we did Star Rock, then it might be a little bit more elaborate, but keep it simple. Don't let this thing drive up the price point, but maybe some things that are nice, like handouts or something like that. If you have the time and bandwidth to have maybe postcards printed off or something, trifolds, those are dreams I have that I've yet to accomplish because I'm always kind of doing something else. But hey, maybe you can, and I'd love it if you did. So, okay, and then follow up with the attendees afterwards with thank you cards, emails, grab a Survey Monkey, that's free, and then take those notes and come back and put those notes on this workshop worksheet for next time, which is the next page, notes. So these are the random things that you're going to think about, and I'll write hit up printer for flyers. I like to keep it simple. In a pinch, I'll print it on my printer at home, but that usually doesn't save me anything other than another trip to the office supply store for ink because I ran out again, you know. And then after your workshop, come back with that feedback that you got and put that in notes. Now, remember your Dharma and your purpose may or may not align with everybody that came to your thing. So if they came back and said, you know, I loved that, but I remember one time I went to a shala in India and we did Sanskrit and chanting, and I think your workshop would be so much better if you added that. I'd probably chuck that info because it doesn't really align with my personal Dharma. But if it did, I would take it and I'd write it down here. And that's how you organize this information. Okay, next you have a creative class, which is something we do in yoga teacher training. So if you're offering a workshop that includes a movement piece, this is where we would list that out. I am definitely not one to marry myself to my class plan, but it is nice maybe to have index cards with stick figures and Sharpie at the top of my mat, if for no other reason that I don't feel nervous that I forget what we're going to do. But this isn't really asana based. We talked about some seated movement at the end, so maybe this is just what you could write. Seated movement, and then list it out. If you don't know any, come see me at yogaschool.com. All right, and that's kind of it. So if you organize your information in this way, you might find you feel a little bit more confident to offer workshops, a little bit more ready to market those workshops, an easier time to land gigs for your workshops because your business owners will see that you're serious, you're professional, you're organized, and more importantly, that you'll market something that you will deliver, rather than we're going to offer this and then the students in the room and maybe even the business owner is surprised when you offer something else. So in that way, I do hold back the niceties and I do hold back the refined details, and if they make the cut while I'm there, great, but I do want to make sure that my offerings are in line with what people bought tickets for, even if it's free, gave their time for. So I don't really recommend free, but sometimes this is what we do. So with that being said, thank you so much for joining me for this little workshop video. If you have any questions, shoot me a chat. I have a chat at yogaschool.com and I'm happy to answer it. You don't get a bot, you do get me, but your bot will welcome you to say, hey, thanks for stopping by, and I'll be there probably within a few minutes, unless I'm meditating, in which case it's going to have to be next time. Namaste.